So the next section, I'm going to show you how to deal with the database itself. And there are two things that we are going to learn for this database. I'm going to use the GUI. I guess you know the GUI, graphical user interface, in order to access the data. And I'm going to teach you how to use the ORM, Object Relationship Management, to access the data. So there are three ways to connect to the data. First, we can use the GUI. The second, we can use the Python ORM. And we can use the SQL. GUI means graphical user interface. We can use the PyCharm graphical user interface. This is easy because you only need to click some buttons and put the data into the panel. But this is manual. So if you want to put the data, then you need to manually input, you need to manually delete, you need to manually update, and etc. The second way to deal with the data access is using Python. We call it Python ORM. So we use the Python code to access the data, and it can be used in the view and the template. So if you are connecting your Python file into the HTML file, so this is the best way. The other way to do the data access is using SQL. We use the structured query language, or SQL. So use the SQL language in accordance to the database tool. It can be used in the view and need to be translated into template. So SQL is a kind of language based on the database. If you are using SQLite, then there will be SQL, or the structured query language, only for SQLite. If you are using MySQL, another kind of database, then there will be another SQL language for this MySQL. Maybe they are similar. Somehow they are similar, even though not big difference, but still easy to understand. If you are using the SQL server, so the SQL will be a little bit different with the other SQL, but still they are using similar structure of the SQL. So we'll take a look those three options. Okay, so we will learn how to use GUI, how to use the Python ORM, and how to use the SQL. Now, let's do with the GUI. For the GUI, as you saw before, we can see the column. Where is the users? Where is the post? Where is the question? So I'm going to show you. Here, you can see users, questions, and posts. When you double click on this, then you can see this table. If you double click on the questions, then you can see this table. If you double click on the posts, then you can see this table. Okay. So there are some patterns that you need to understand. First, you can see the symbol plus. The symbol plus means you can add the row. If you press the minus button, then it means you will delete the row. Use return button, it means you revert the row. Revert means you will use the previous data. And then there's an I button. It means we are going to preview the pending changes. And then this button is to submit. So whenever you have a new data, you need to press to press submit in order to make it change into the database. So let's say I'm going to create a new data. So let's just put the ID equals to 1 and the username is trial01. Okay. So you can create by your own if you want, but let me just use this one. So in the users, I'm going to create one new ID. First, you need to press the plus button. You need to press the plus button. Now you can see there is a new row. And we already specify the ID is integer. Then you need to specify a number because it is an index. So it is good to start with 1. And then the username, yeah, you can define any name. For example, I'm using the trial01. Okay. So if you finish with this one, you need to do the submit. Okay. Once you submit, then you can see there is a data in our database. You can see this button, it is refresh. When you refresh it, then you can see now we have the data. Now the second one is the question. Okay. The same, so all the database will have the same graphical user interface. So you just use the plus, minus, revert, or preview pending change and submit. Now let's create a new content. Okay, here the ID will be 1, and then the content, let's say, how can I learn Fast API? And then there is also another column, user ID. So this user ID means the user ID that I just created. The previous ID I created with the ID equals to 1. So there should be a relationship between this column and the users. So make sure that whenever you create your data, there should be the relationship. If there is no relationship, then it will be error. Okay. Now let's create the question. I'm going to add a new row, and let's make this is just ID1. And then the content, how can I learn Fast API, for example. And then let's suppose the user ID who create this one is the ID number 1. Okay. Once you create this one, please do not forget to submit. Okay. So you need to submit it into the database. Next, yeah, I'm going to answer the question. The same with the previous one. I'm going to answer the question. For example, I'm using the ID 1, and then I would like to answer what's YouTube, for example, and then I need to specify what is the question ID for this answer. I know I have only one question, which is about how can I learn Fast API, and that ID is 1. So I can just specify the ID equals to 1. And the time is when did you create this one? Okay. So you can specify this is based on the current time. So I go to the post and then I make a new row. So let's set up this is ID1 and then the answer text, for example, watch YouTube. And this answer, it will refer to the question ID 1. And if you double click on this, you can see the time. So the time you can define what is the date, what is the month, what is the year, what is the hour, what is the minute, and what is the second. Let's say I'm just using this default. You can press enter. When you press enter now, yeah, the current time will be stored in this column. Once you finish, do not forget to press submit. Now you have the data. So this data, actually, whenever you create the data, now my question is, I create the data on the users, and then next I go to the question, and then I go to the post. Is it possible if I start from the post, and then I go to the question, and then at the end I go to the user? Is it possible? 처음에 user 먼저 데이터는 넣고, 두 번째는 question 넣고, 3번은 post. 만약에 순서를 바꾸면은 되는지 안 되는지 여쭤보겠어요. 만약에 post는 1번, 그러면 question은 2번, user은 3번. 가능해요? This sequence is possible when you already have the data on the user. If you have no data on the user, then this is not possible. Why? Because when you create a post, you need to have at least one question ID. So if there is no data on the question, you cannot create the post. Next, when you create data on the questions, you need to have at least one users. If there is no data on the users, then you cannot create data on the questions. Okay, it means whenever you create your data in your database, make sure to see the relationship. For this example, you need to put the data first on the users, and then you put the data on the questions, and then you put data on the post. It should be in the order. Now, next, we can use the GUI. It is convenient. But whenever we deal with the MVT, you need to know that to just use the GUI, it will not connect immediately to the template. And let's say some users, they connect to the HTML. They cannot directly connect to the database. So they cannot use the GUI directly. So they need to use the HTML to connect to the database. So we need to define using the ORM. We need to handling the data as the Python objects. So in this session, you can use the session object to interact with the database. Now let's create something new. Okay. I have the users. So the users ID1 before we create it with the data trial 01. Okay. There is no independency in the users because we just have only ID and the username. Now let's create another data. For the questions, let's create the ID equals to 2. And then let's create the data. The content is where is neighbor. And then I will connect the question to the user number 1. And for the table post, let's create another ID, which is 2. And the content, the answer will be this one, https neighbor.com. So the relationship will be directed to the question. Oh, sorry, question 2. Okay. This is not one. This is question 2. Okay. So let's direct to this question 2. Now, for this purpose, I'm going to create a new file. So the new file name is CRUD demo. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to create a new file here, and the file name is CRUD demo. So I will explain later in detail CRUD. What does it mean by CRUD? For this Python file, we are going to connect to the database. So what is the database? If you want to know, so you can press the control in your keyboard. You can press the control and then you can see with your mouse. Now there is we call it the tip text tooltip. This is the tooltip. The file database.py is, it appears in the tooltip. So when you click this one, then it goes to the database.py. Okay. And we are going to import the session local on the database.py. What is session local? This is the session local. So this is the object that we created on the database.py. For this session local, it means for every time I connect to the database, this is the models that I'm going to use. So you can see here, first you need to connect to the database, or this is for the database connection. And second, you need to connect to the models. You need to create a new object from the session local. And let's see. From the models, I'm going to access user. So the user, I know that there are two attributes. The first attribute is ID. So I'm going to create an ID, a new ID, which is 2, and I'm going to create the username is trial 02. This is just example. And then I put it into one variable, user2. So I'm going to add user2 into the DB. This one, we call it the object. So this object, it refers to the class user. Next, I'm going to create a new question. So let's say this is the question number 2. So the question number 2, we use again the models and then call the class question. And I'm using a new ID, which is 2. And then the content or question will be where is neighbor. And I'm going to connect to, let's say, the user ID equals to 1. So you need to have this one to make sure that the data contain the proper data. After you have this question 2, now I'm going to add into the database. And from the questions, I'm going to create a new answer. So the new answer is post underbar 2. And then let me call the models and call the class name, which is post. The ID equals to 2. And now I'm giving the answer. Because the question is where is neighbor, I'm giving the answer is the link www.neighbor.com. And I'm going to connect this one to the question ID equals to 2. So this is the ID equals to 2. And I'm going to add into the DB. After I add the user 2, after I add the question 2, after I add the post 2, please do not forget to use commit. Okay, so this commit, it is similar with the submit. Okay. If you do not do the submit, then the database will not change. Okay. Oh. So after you complete with this one, now let's do the CRUD demo. Now, yeah, because it is still manual, I'm just using the run CRUD demo. Okay. So this is still not connected to the view. So just run the CRUD demo. You can see, yeah, success. User 1, question 2, post 2. Oh, user 1. Okay. Anyway, now I'm just creating user 2. Okay. This is actually user 2. If you complete this one, okay, do not do more. Let's see the data. You can refresh. Now you have the additional data. What about the question? You can have the second data. And then post, when you refresh, you can have a new data. Okay. Now, for the next step, for this step by step, I would like to create another kind of code in the same file. Okay. So you can just maintain the header. And after running the previous code, highlight and comment out the syntax. So you can use the control plus slash before moving to the next step. So here, let me go to the CRUD demo. So I can block this one until this part. Okay. So maintain the header. So this is the header. And then control slash. When you press the control slash, it is automatically creating a new shop for every line. Okay, shop. It means I'm going to block this one and we will not execute this statement anymore. So I'm just going to include this header, not including the creation. So after I create the data, now I'm going to check. For example, I'm going to read data. So let's copy and paste this one. And I'm going to add this into the section, this one. I mentioned this is the fetch user 1, fetch question 2, fetch post 2. Okay. It means I'm going to check what is the data in the models. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to check on the DB and I'm doing the query. So query means I'm going to connect to the database. In this case, I'm going to check the user, model set user, and I'm using the filters. The filters, I'm going to check when the user.id equals to 1, show the first. That means I'm going to show only the first data. The same with the Q and P. So I'm going to connect to the database models.question, and then I'm going to check the ID of the question when the ID equals to 2 and just show the first data. And then P, I'm going to connect to the post and then let the ID equals to 2 and show the first data. Then I can run again this code, run the CRUD demo. Then you will see the data. Now I'm looking for the user. When the ID equals to 1, then the username is trial ID. When I ask the user the question ID 2, then the question is where is neighbor. And when I connect to the post ID equals to 2, so the answer is this one, neighbor.com. Okay. So this is the way to get the data from the database. Again, yeah. After running the previous code, so highlight and comment out the syntax using control plus slash. So I'm just using this one and then control slash. When you press the control slash, now it becomes comment for all this section. Now let's continue with the next one. Actually, we can also combine how to read the data, okay, and how to check the data using some kind of if. So let's see. So I mentioned it, this is step 2, or this is another kind of alternative way to read the data. My post will be the query from the models.post. It means I'm going to check from the post, and filters when the post ID goes to 2, and then check the first data. If my post, it means if the data is available, then I will print the data. The printing is about I will get the answers.text, which is the column or the variable, and I'm going to check the created at. So this is the column or the variable in the table. If you run this, you can see the answer is this one, https www.neighbor.com, and then we can see the date created at 2026 April 1st. So we can also apply with some kind of function, and of course you can also apply with for loop and so on. Okay, you can try to explore by yourself. Again, please try to make comments, so it will not make some kind of troubles in the next code. Okay. Now let's suppose I'm going to update. I'm going to update the data before I put the answer is www.neighbor.com. But I came to know that, okay, this guy actually, they want to know about the search engine. Then I'm going to change the search engine or the answers into https://search.neighbor.com. Then I can use this one. So I'm going to connect to the models.post, and then filter when the post ID equals to 2. So check the first data, and then let be the answer text equal to, this is the new answer. So the new answer will be https search.naver.com, and I'm going to update the data on the ID too. After you update with this one, please do not forget that you need to use commit. And I will run again. So URL updated. Now you can go to the post. Originally the data was this one, http www.naver.com. Once you refresh, now it becomes search.naver.com. Okay. So after you do that one, please again, do not forget to make the comment, okay, before moving to the next step. So after I commented, and let's check the next one. The last one in this section, it is about delete. Okay. So delete means I'm going to remove the data from the database. I'm going to check what are the posts that I'm going to delete. For example, I'm going to delete the post ID 2. And then yeah, I'm going to check, I'm going to look at the models.post and then filter when the ID equals to 2, check the first data. And I am going to delete it. After I delete this one, please do not forget to do the commit. Okay, so this commit is the necessary comment whenever you do with the Python ORM. And then at the end, it will be deleted. If you already completed with all the database process, you can just use this one, db.close. So this db.close, it is important to remove the memory, to erase the memory. If you use this db-close, then at least you can remove some of the memory of your computer to make it more efficient. So let me just use this one. Okay. Now it is still in the comment. How to open it? So in order to open this code, you can use the same one, Control/. Okay. So when you press the Control/, then it will open the code and then you can run. So here I also put the db.close. It is to close the database after you finish with your process. Then I will do again post delete. So let's see on the post, we still have this one, and then let's refresh. Now the second data has been deleted. Okay. So please do not forget to make the comments, okay? Because if you still run this CRUD demo with this one, of course, it will be error. Now you don't have the data. That's why, yeah. If you want to run again with some other things, please check which one is necessary, which one is not necessary. Okay, now let's go to the next section. I think we still have some time. In the database, we may have some kind of modification. So when you design your database, you may upgrade your database, or you may modify your table, or you may add some more columns and etc. So you may want to change the table structure. And okay, this is a note. You have to be careful not to delete what is already there. So whenever you have the database, when you want to upgrade, so for example, now I have the function to connect to the user name and user ID. But because of the new requirement from the government, you need to add one more, like now we have two-phase verification. So instead of the username and user ID, you need to put also your phone number. And then you need to also to put your fingerprint, for example. You also need to put your maybe the financial certificate, cầm yung injun so, and etc. Then it means you need to put more column into the user ID. But making a new column is very dangerous because you may delete some other columns. So please be careful whenever you do some kind of database migration. So for this one, I'm just teaching you the very simple way to update the column. To update the column, I'm going to use the SQL. And yeah, this one is the very simple way to update the column. And then after you have the tables different, the modification on the table structure, so you can update the Python model, because whenever you do with the ORM, you also need the Python object. Not only with the table, this is on the SQLite, but you also need to modify the ORM. And then let's try to add some initial data to the existing row. For this one, I will explain later more. Let's use SQL. Okay. This SQL, or the structured query language, we can use from the Python, and we use the function from the query. So in this query, if you see, here is the database. So in this database section, you will have some buttons. For example, here, it is to add a new database. This is to do something related to the database. And whenever you have an update, you can refresh. And then this is a kind of database connection. And then this is the query console. So in the query consoles, they have the new query console, or they have also the default query console, and etc. I think you can just use the default to connect to your database. This query, sorry, maybe I should not jump into the alter, but for the basic SQL, usually we use select. Select means I want to select any kind of data. Let's say I'm going to select star, and then I'm going to select from For example, I want to see from the table push. I can press the play button and then I can see the data on the table push. I'm going to select all or star from the users. So it means once I press the play button, then I can see there are 2 users on my data. I can select star from questions. Then if I click this one, I can see there are 2 questions on my database. Okay. So this is the query console. And for this query console, now I'm going to do the alteration. The alteration means I'm going to do the modification on my database. So in this database, I'm going to add a new column like, and I'm going to add a new column dislike. So what does it mean? This one. I think if you know from the social media, or if you have a kind of forum website, someone give the answer from your question, and then you can ask the other user whether they like the answer or they dislike the answer. And then at the end, I want to know how many people who like that answer and how many people who dislike that answer. In order to do this one, it means I need to have 2 new columns. So I need to alter the table post. So this is the table post. And then I'm going to add the column. The column name is like. And then it will be an integer. So the value will be integer, and there should be a new value. By the default, it is 0. The second table, also the same. I'm going to alter the table post, and then I'm going to add a new column, and the column name will be dislike. And then this data type will be integer, and the default value will be 0. Okay. So let's do one by one. So I'm going to do this one. Alter the table. Alter the table post, add column like, and integer default equals to 0. So let me run. Oh. So if you can see this one, SQL error or missing database, duplicate column name like. So it means actually already done, but I did one more time. Okay. So it's already done. I just did it, but when I press one more time, it shows the error. Okay. And then again, I'm also doing the same for the column dislike. Okay. So I'm going to use this console, and then let me just, I'm using the another column dislike. So let me run again. So it will show the column dislike. Okay, so we have like and dislike. And you can see the number is 0 and 0 for the default value. After you finish with the SQL, now you can also add these 2 lines after the class post in the models.py. So in the models.py, in the post, so you need to have 2 more columns, which is like and dislike. So this is important because whenever we use the Python ORM, we need to connect with those two as well. And then, yeah, you can update the data. For example, yeah, let's just use the post here. Maybe let me just put, I don't know, 15, okay, 20, okay. And then please do not forget to submit. After you submit, so you can take a look. For example, select star from post. Then if I run this, now my data has been updated. So like is 15 and dislike is 20. Okay. Okay, let's have a break. I will continue after the break.